Greetings, tax tip lovers, and welcome to this week's top property tax tactics in just 5 minutes. Come, gather around, people, and let me share with you the story of Ian, who owns a property investment company. When his dad died a few years back, the family paid inheritance tax. Boy, did they pay inheritance tax. Understandably, Ian's concern is paying yet more inheritance tax on his property investment business when he dies. And the pandemic raised his thinking from future concern to top of the agenda. Ian's goal was to protect his family property investment business for the next generation, not unlike Sir John Major, Knight of the Garter, Companion of Honour, did for the Queen. Ian doesn't do latest planning or current thinking. Ian likes old style, tried and tested, and he'd had a few conversations about inheritance tax before stumbling on one of my videos. He told me he'd had a romp around the internet and almost drowned under the weight of seemingly contrived tax planning ideas and schemes, none of which he felt comfortable with, and he lacked the stomach for the inevitable future battle with the tax authority. It's just a question of perspective, he said, and he told me this story to illustrate the point. A guy spots a sign outside a house that reads, "Talking dog for sale." Intrigued, he walks in. "So what have you done with your life?" he asks the dog. "I've led a very full life," says the dog. "I lived in the Alps, rescuing avalanche victims. Then I served my country in Iraq, and now I spend my days reading to the residents of a retirement home." The guy's flabbergasted. He asked the dog's owner, "Why on earth would you want to get rid of an incredible dog like that?" "Because he's a liar. He never did any of that," said the owner. Okay, back to our story. Remember, Ian likes old school. He's a big fan of tried and tested. So we chatted about planning using structures which in England date back to the Middle Ages. We chatted about trusts, which at their most simplistic are nothing more than a structure which legally enables assets owned by one person to be managed by another person. Trusts exist in many different forms, but we chatted about one specific trust, typically used in estate planning for property investment company owners like Ian. Remember, Ian likes old school, so he easily got comfortable with a trust defined in a UK Act of Parliament from way back in 1984, a structure that's been in use for 37 years, and you can't get much more old school than that. Structured properly, this trust may allow Ian's kids, as the next generation of directors and employees of Ian's property investment company, to share in its ownership in a managed way, and may enable Ian to start the process of succession and to get his kids more involved in the family business just as he wanted. Here's what Ian particularly liked. The transfer of shares to this type of trust should be an exempt transfer for inheritance tax purposes, so long as all the conditions are met. And the transfer of shares to this type of trust should be nil gain, nil loss for capital gains tax purposes, again, so long as all the conditions are met. So here's what I've just told you. Ian used 37-year-old UK legislation to aim to pass the shares in his property investment company to his kids with no IHT or capital gains tax. I'm guessing your current advisor didn't already tell you, or you'd not still be watching this video. Well, maybe, just maybe, they don't really know those pesky tax rules. Ian's goal was to pass his wealth on to the people that matter most to him, his kids, and in the most effective way. This type of trust planning was right for Ian, but it's not right for everyone. And as I say every week, you really do need to take specialist tax advice. We take a humble approach to inheritance tax and associated planning for clients, with our sleeves rolled up, aiming to provide pragmatic help and actionable advice, usually in conjunction with current advisors, and we aim to take away as much stress as possible. Your options are you can do nothing and stay in the exact same place, and pay a shed load of tax unnecessarily, or you can follow the link above for a free Power Hour review with property tax experts who are ex PwC and ex HMRC and will make your property tax planning like it was our own. To play us out this week, check out the link above for the original top of the pops version of Tax and Gags and Rock and Roll by Ian Jury and the Blockheads. Okay, that's it. Stay bright. Catch you again for breakfast next week. Ta-ra!